probably the worst time to scratch my lip, right when I just started this, so it'll be the thumbnail. But I'm just gonna leave it. It's funny, right? Not that funny. Just digging in the astrology bucket to see what we want to talk about. I should just call it the Oracle bucket. Aquarius. This is the energy that's taking us into the future, the humanitarian, the one that looks out for the group, the all. Then we got shaman. And shaman is what we call an ancient healer that is not bound to this realm. Shamans are known for traveling to the other layers, the other realms, in order to initiate their healing assistance, their healing assistance. One thing I think about when I think shaman is like, when I discovered that a shaman exists, what a shaman was, I did a little bit of reading up about it. I forget why it was brought to me. Maybe I got a book or something about it and then I looked into it more. Anyway, I found there's this attitude that, well, two things. And one was that, like, you can't be a shaman if you weren't initiated into shamanism by a shaman. That's how it works. And that this is just their thing, right? And I get that. But, like, in culture, it's also been said that, like, in Western culture here in the United States, for instance, our shaman, what would be considered our shaman, because we're not living tribally anymore, are those that end up in mental health facilities and hospitals and things like that, right? Because the initiation into shamanism is a breaking of the reality where you do find yourself not grounded. Okay, so it is important to be surrounded by wise, understanding, and knowing beings in order to usher you into the role that actually can help you serve for others. But in our Western culture, the United States, this isn't happening because we're very far removed from that. So instead of midwifing in our new shaman, we are hospitalizing them, telling them they're crazy, releasing them onto the streets after they are hospitalized, and letting them fend for themselves with no income and no shelter and no love. It's insanity. Those are our healers. Like, I really believe that. Those are our healers. They have the ability to travel into the psyche. I've seen this firsthand. There's someone in my life who I love very much and who has shown me their ability to see into my shadow, to know my Akashic record, to locate me without knowing logically where I am. But to find me physically on the earth without knowing where I am ahead of time, without a map, well, just following their impulse, their inner urge. And this person, because they haven't been ushered in by those before them who were wiser and knowing and had harnessed the true qualities of how these skills and talents can be used, this person is not in a role to be, assisting others to heal, except for, you can definitely poke a shadow out in a person for sure. We got Not Now and Astria. So something's out of balance here. Something is out of balance, so we're not lined up with it fully yet. It's humanity's healing. A lot more shakeup is going to be happening before the healing can come into being. The state that we rest in, being the healed, balanced state. First, all the things that are out of balance are going to be like spiking up to show themselves. Like, you can't deny it, you can't deny it, you can't deny it. This isn't working, you can't deny it. I would think one of those things is going to be the mental health industry. Because what I've realized about the mental health industry is there are some people who are suffering in their mental health who it is beneficial for them to engage in the system that we currently have. But there are a tremendous number of patients falling through the cracks of the system that we currently have. And in many cases, the only people that the mental health system is assisting are the people who are employed in it. Potential spam. So that's a very sad thing, and it's interesting because you could talk to those people all along the way, the different roles like therapists, counselors, police officers, whoever has to engage with the mental health community and the resources that are available for them. They all say that the system is failing, that there is not a good solution for the issue that they're facing. Which to me says, well, let's not keep holding this system up and keep being engaged in it then. Let's revamp it. But they're just the ones working in it, so they don't have that power. And to me, it's insanity that this is how it works. And this is not just in the mental health industry that it works like that. It's with police officers, right? You've got police officers. I understand their value, but you know that we have some that get through in there that they have just a total inferiority complex. Their ego is running the show. They're total egomaniacs, and they've been let through the system. They're allowed into the role of authority where they will abuse it. Those people will abuse their authority. We know this, and we're not changing the way that we do it. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Makes no sense. The fact that we're using prisons instead of helping people solve the issues that got them there in the first place. Punishment and reward doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Now, I know we want to feel safe, and so it feels safer if we have people who are violent criminals locked up. I get it. I get it. Those people do need to be segregated, isolated until they sort out their stuff. And some of them are not willing or wanting to sort out their stuff. And we want to feel safe, and we deserve to. Right? I get that. I get that totally. You know, so we have a situation going on now that we will need to deal with. But then from what we learn from that situation, we go to the source, the mothers, the pregnant mothers that aren't supported in the way that they could be because we've industrialized the birthing process. Now it's a business. So what's important to a mother isn't always the thing that is paid attention to or given attention to in the system of industrialized birthing. And that is why we have children growing up to be adults that can't function, that are prone to violence, and so on and so forth. So these things can be solved. It's just that this system is kind of like got us in a stronghold to be functioning the way it is. And then they've implemented the way to change that is through all kinds of like politics and pushing paperwork and taking votes and things like this. And it's like these votes and these politicians who are in office and supposedly running things, they've got all these agendas and they're using all these marketing strategies, and it's just not real anymore. It's just like a little puppet show. And that's not going to solve anything. And there's corruption. We all know it. Every single person who knows about the politics knows there's corruption. No one who's playing in that realm doesn't know that there's corruption. Yet it's still being used as a way to navigate. That's insanity to me. All right, so because this is an evolution of humanity, because this is the time for all these lies to come up into our awareness, it is happening. It's going to happen. And it happens best by each of us taking responsibility for our part in it. And our part in it is the part that we have inside of ourselves, which is what we feel about it. So if you find yourself rallying against some certain person, right? They're the bad guy. They're the bad one. Look what they're doing. You might want to check yourself, because that is giving you an indication that you're projecting something that you don't like about being human onto another person. So you got to get right with the parts of you that could have done those things that you judge so harshly. Maybe in another lifetime you did those things. Maybe you absolutely know and you don't believe in other lifetimes, so you just can't find acceptance for that. Well, at least accept that it is happening. At least accept that it is happening. And then be present with how you feel about that. Do that, and now you're not pushing against it so much, because you've been present with the part of you that feels so strongly about it, and now you're the person who loves that part of you. So you can handle it, and you don't have to project it on. You don't have to shout against. You don't have to tell them. You don't have to rally. You just be the peace. Be the peace by being peaceful for the part of you that feels so hurt and aroused and scared. You see? Okay. Anything else? Anything else? Clytia came out. Unrequited love. And blind desire. Okay. I mean, when this card comes up, there's a part of me personally. I can definitely feel that I have a bias on this, because I feel sick of talking about Clytia, because I've dealt with Clytia, unrequited love, to a big degree, and so I've studied it a bit. And this Clytia character from mythology also experienced that what drove her in being stuck in that unrequited love situation was that she used her blind desire. She was blindly desiring a certain outcome, and that outcome resulted in unrequited love. So it's like, what are you investing in? And is what you're investing in loving you back? Like, is it really beneficial for you to be pouring your cup out into this whatever situation because you strongly desire a certain outcome, but it's not giving back to you in any way? Now, there's an other side of this, and I can see like there could be like a question or an argument about like, well, I thought we're giving without expectation. And that's true. But when we give without expectation, we're doing it from our own filled up cup, our overflow. So Clytia, because it was blind desire, because she was blinded to all the other factors of what desiring that thing entailed. And for her, it entailed draining herself and ending up being kind of like disliked by the person that she actually loved. And being drained. So now she doesn't even have the energy to take care of herself through her despair of finding out that that love is not returned. So she kind of buried herself with it. So do you see, if you actually like take yourself into consideration, and yes, you're giving without expectation, but you're only giving from your overflow. You're already a filled up cup. And so you have extra love to give, and you just give that. That right there solves this. Okay? So there are going to be times where we're going to be needing to help people, that we're going to be needing to give love to people who aren't even loving themselves. But as long as we are doing that from our overflow, it's going to be okay. Instead of trying to convince people to change or to do it our way or to take care of themselves even, we can just be the example of one who does it in a healthy manner, of one who does it in a balanced way, of what being balanced can actually do for you in your life. Because it does a lot. Being balanced is you're no longer a slave, or you're no longer being swept up in waves of emotion. You're no longer lost in the ocean of emotion, I should say. You may still experience a wave of emotion, but you kind of surf it. When you're balanced, you surf the wave. You're not being like engulfed into the wave and falling off your board and all that kind of stuff. It's just unnecessary for us to get ourselves entangled into situations where we would be enacting that like drama triangle way of relating, which is a power struggle way of relating, which is the victim, savior, persecutor. And there's a lot of information out there on that, but once you try to become the savior for others, then you're making them the victim, or they are making themselves the victim. That's making you want to save them. And they can also turn into the persecutor. Maybe you don't save them just right. Maybe you enabled them too long. You know, a victim is a dangerous thing because it's not balanced. And if we get ourselves into that dynamic by being the savior of people who are not balanced, we do run the risk of being pulled into that dynamic, pulled under the wave. And here we're not serving anybody. We're just being part of the I'm going to say problem, but I don't mean problem. I just mean the chaos, the issue, the imbalance, right? Like, instead, pull yourself up, be an example of being in balance. And I don't mean denying or suppressing emotion. No. You're in balance when you've already you've already gone into those emotions and been present with those emotions for yourself. So it's not because you're denying them. It's not because you're saying, oh, I'm above that. No, it's because you sat in the trenches with yourself through that emotion. Now you're the person who can love yourself, and that can be with you, and you still love yourself. That's what it is. Because it does exist. And what we resist persists. So if we resist any of our emotions, it's going to persist. It's going to be pressing on us. And it could be so subtle. We could be so good at coping with it after so long that we barely even notice it's pressing on us anymore. You know? But it is there if we have not been the one who could be present with it. And if we have a coping mechanism in place that's been helping us deny or avoid it. So when I say coming into balance, I'm not advocating bypassing in any way. I'm talking about truly having faced the darkness within self and truly having been present with and loved the unloved parts of self and truly being at peace with all of it. Okay.